I don't know if you could see this.
Okay, turn it a little. Yeah, keep turning it so we can get a shot sooner or later. A little higher.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
That little rock caused me some problems. I found it. I cleaned out my car. There was a quarter in the floorboard of my car in the driver's area. I picked
Okay,
up
explain that again. There's a quarter on the floorboard.
the floorboard of the driver's side, and I picked it up and put it in my pocket. I thought I had the car clean. Next morning, I got up. There was that little rock. I broke this rock in two. I probably should have never done it, but I wanted to see what the composition was. I still don't know what the composition is. But I picked that little rock up. But after that happened, the next day or so, my car started heating up in the console area. And it got up really hot where I couldn't put my foot up against it. And I said to myself, wow, this is not right. Car shouldn't be like that. Then I had a heat gun, so I measured the heat, 176 degrees.
Wow.
I took it to the dealership, and the dealership told me there was nothing wrong. There was no heat, nothing wrong underneath. Said there's nothing in that area that should be heating that up. I said it is hot, and then the guy, the manager, come out with a heat gun. He looked at me, kind of laughed, and he said, "This ain't no." He said, "This is not possible." He took the heat gun, he shot it. It was 176. He looked at me and he goes, he didn't know what to think. He says, "This is strange." I said, "Yeah, I know. I was just out west. Strange things happened." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, long story." And he said, "Well, I'll call Detroit to see how we can fix this problem." And then he said, "We'll get some insulation." I said, "No, you're gonna need a special kind of insulation." They put the insulation in anyway that they was gonna put in. Still didn't work. Didn't stop the heat. I said, "You need something with aluminum backing on the insulation." And he says, "How do you know this?" I said, "I don't know. There was energy there. There was planted there that coincided with the car's energy and produced heat. Then when they put that insulation with the metal backing, you've seen the aluminum metal backing, they put that in, that cured the problem."
So let's go through this again. So the console, like the passenger and the driver's side is the console is hot.
Yeah, the floor console. You know where your foot goes to the gas pedal?
Oh, okay, on the floor. Okay.
Yeah, I was up against. You put your leg up against the console area from the gas pedal. A lot of times you do that to rest your leg.
Yeah. Okay.
The habit, but that's where the heat was coming from. And I told them how to cure it. They didn't listen to me the first time. Second time they did, and then the heat disappeared. And I said, "It's not heat, it's energy." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said again, I don't want to go into depth. I think I know what this is. There was a little rock left there that indicated that somebody was tampering my car. Somehow or another, they leave some kind of invisible energy on your car to track you in your car. And that's what that was. It was the heat energy. So I have paperwork from the dealer that I kept on that incident. But I'll show you now these little, like I said, I had so much action going on.
Can I ask a couple questions before you go to that?
Yes, sir.
You had cleaned the car. Okay, so let's go over the quarter. The quarter is sitting on the floor of the passenger side.
On the driver's side, sir.
On the driver's side, okay. And you had cleaned the car. So did you find this bizarre that there would be a quarter sitting there?
Yes, I did at first, and I picked it up, put it in my pocket, not thinking anything until the next day. There was that little rock in its place.
So the quarter, let's go back to the quarter. Do you remember if the quarter was heads up or heads down?
It was heads up.
Heads up, okay. In fact, if you look on my Facebook page yesterday, you'll see a story about that. I do a lot of stories about this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm interested in the quarter. The other thing is the rock, is it in the same place as the quarter?
Yes, it was found in the same place.
Okay, have you found any other bizarre quarters or objects in your house or things that have fallen down when you're sort of...
I don't know
Okay.
if you can see these little discs.
A little higher. Hold it like this. I can't really see it with your hand there.
All
See if
right.
you can hold it up like this.
Okay. There's one there.
Okay, what color is that? It's red?
That's a dark. It's a darker color. It's
Put it
a
on the
dark.
side. Okay, I can see it now. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then I got another one. The first one I got, it was in my bathroom in Godfrey, Illinois, and that's the first one I got, I believe. And this
And where
was
was it in the bathroom? Whereabouts in the bathroom?
right where I was on the stool, and I looked down. They put these things exactly where you can see them.
Okay.
You will never miss them. And I looked down and I saw it, and I thought, what's going on? I don't have any of these kind of things. And here's a second one that I found on the bedroom floor where I was changing, and I wondered, okay, now there's something going on. I found two of them like that. I said,
Okay.
there's something weird. This one here, this tan one, this was found actually in my pocket. I was in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Wow.
Now, I'm from Godfrey, Illinois. I went to Fairbanks, Alaska, and they were still tailing me. And what happened, I went to a Rotary meeting with the professor that I lived in his house, was leasing a house for a couple of years. My wife was working with the DOD in consulting. So we were there for a couple of years on a contract. And
Your wife was working, can I stop you there for a minute? Your wife was working for the military?
for the DOD, she was subcontracted. She wasn't military or anything, but she was subcontracted.
Okay, so that has, what does your wife think about all this?
She believes it because things have happened to her. She's
Okay.
had dreams. She's got a dark mark in the middle of her back.
Okay.
The first 6 months she was with me, she got it. It was kind of like a scraping thing, and it turned dark. And now it's just about all dissipated. She showed skin doctors; they didn't know what it was. But
Wow.
she has dreams. She believes everything that I say. She knows that a lot of times I can touch her. I have electrical energy in me that shocks her, and I think I have that left over in my body. But this is the one
Okay.
I found in my pocket after a Rotary meeting, and these were all professors. Some of them were working in top secret stuff.
Okay.
And there was a guy there that I sense. I think I gained a third eye where I can sense different energies and different people.
Okay.
And I sense this guy sitting there looking at me. He had real bright blue eyes, and he was looking at me when I walked out the bathroom, and I came back, and I had this in my pocket. I changed clothes, and the reason why I know it wasn't in my pocket to begin with, because I changed clothes and took everything out of my pockets. So I knew it wasn't in there when I changed into a different trouser. I come back, I put my hand in, getting my keys out of my pocket, and something stuck to my finger. And it was that little disc. It was magnetized. It actually stuck to my finger. I held it out like this. It still stayed on.
Wow.
And I thought, whoa. Now, that's when chills went up my spine. I said, something is going on that's weird. This is really weird. I keep these four things, these four discs. I take them as a spiritual message. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's connected to ETs. But the red one, the fifth one, we found on the base at the PX. It was in the hard snow, and it was next to where I walk and get in the car. Matter of fact, my wife was walking with me. She looked down. She said, "Baby," she said, "isn't that the little disc that you find?" I said, "Yeah." I picked it up, and it was a red disc. They're all the same size, different colors. And I'm waiting for somebody to walk up and give me a blue and green one, and then I think I'm going to pass out. You know.
So you have
So
three red ones and a tan one, correct?
no, I had two dark ones. One's copper, one's dark gray, one's tan, and then one's red.
Yeah, perhaps you can send me some photos of those, because that really interests me, that kind of stuff. I can tell you a lot of stories about that.
Yeah,
what's going on there.
I can send you pictures, Grant.
Beautiful, beautiful. Fantastic story. Wow, I love that. Okay, keep going.
No, and I found other trinkets in my pocket. There was
wow, okay, tell me about those.
Okay, there was a necklace I bought Hiroko. We went to I guess what they call a new age shop there in Sedona, and I bought her a necklace, and she put on a cry. It was only about a $10-12 necklace, and I was cheap, I guess. But I told her, I said, "You got to walk away with something from Sedona." I told her, she put on a little cry, and I noticed that, I guess the year later or whatever, I reached in my pocket and I found parts of that necklace in my pocket.
Wow.
Little, yeah, there about two pieces of that necklace in my pocket, and I knew it was that necklace. She was sending them to me by bits and pieces, sending them back to me. But no, I've seen other little things. I'd have to go through my ledger for all the
Oh, I
small.
would love that. Make sure you do that for me. I love that kind of stuff.
You know, it's just
I'll actually tell you what they're called. They're called manifestations if they just appear like that. And apports are when they move objects in your house from one place to another. You'll find your keys are missing, and then you'll find them in the freezer or something like that. Have you had that kind of stuff happening?
yeah, I've had things relocated. You know, I put my remote, and I know exactly where I put it. There's a lot of times, and it was moved. I've had other things. I can't remember all the small things. I tried to find the reason why that all these things happened to me. And after the first UFO I saw that looked like a baby top, I'll get into those now. It looked like a baby top. And the second one I saw, it was that plane, the drone thing. Now the third one I saw was it came over me over a highway. I can see the bright lights on the side of the highway, Highway 55 in Illinois. I was heading south, and it was coming towards me, and I thought it was a helicopter coming up the highway. I thought, okay, but it got brighter and brighter, and it got right about to me, and then it crossed over me. Why me? There was five other vehicles, a couple behind me, a couple in front of me, and this thing passed right over me. And I looked up and I saw it. I said, "Oh my God!" It was a round, circular, I guess, saucer shape. It had a bright. It was not bright lights. They were kind of like dim lights underneath. It looked like a pie cut. It was pie cut in four pieces. In the center was a real dark ring or circle, and that's what I saw going over me. So yeah, that scared me. Excuse me,
No
but
problem. No problem.
talking too much, Grant.
I love it. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. I saw this thing come over me, and I looked up and I said, "My God, why me? Why pass over me? What is this all about?" These are the questions I'm trying to, ask myself. I and then I explained to you what the drone one was. The other one was a large triangular craft. This was April 9th, 2011. 2 weeks after I saw Hiroko come to my house, there was a large craft. My mom lives down the road from me at the time, about three houses down. She saw it coming out of her picture window, and there were two bright lights. And I saw it first, and I was on the phone with my brother, and I said, "Something's going on. I'm gonna have to let you go." And I saw these two bright lights coming, and what it turned out to be was a big triangular craft. It was gray metallic, and it was kind of cloudy that night. So all I saw was a red light on the back and the two bright lights on the end. It covered about five or six houses. That's how big it was. It
Wow.
covered almost the whole neighborhood.
Wow.
And it had two bright lights in the back. And towards the center, it had a big a grate. It looked like a grate, like a ventilation system, and something was buzzing. I can hear a buzz. I can actually feel it when it went over me. It's only 70 feet up. It actually topped a tree across from my house.
So you'd gone outside to see this thing?
Yeah, I was outside. I looked up. I was in my driveway, and I looked up, and I saw all this stuff under the belly,
Yeah.
and I saw that large grate in which was hissing and buzzing. I guess that's the way they got to pass off heat some way, maybe. And then in the front, here's the most different thing that I've heard. In the front, where the bright light should have been, there was a globe. It looked like those old-fashioned globes. It was about 5 or 6 feet wide and about 15 feet long, hanging in the front. And I didn't know what that was. I looked in it to see if somebody was in it, and I couldn't see anything inside. So it was a big glass globe thing, and it passed over. I looked, and it was gone. And my mom was too afraid to go outside to see it. And my two brothers, they was all afraid. My mom said, I didn't want to get abducted. And she said, "Yes, I saw that thing." And at the time she was about 86, 87.
Okay.
And she said she didn't want to get abducted. And my brothers, two brothers that were there, they saw it. And And so I got witnesses of that, and I got my neighbors witnessing lights and strange things going on around the house. My brother-in-law and sister saw a man in black standing in a field right behind my house. It was windy, and they saw his coat. He had a long coat, and he had a black hat on. And they looked for a while. They couldn't figure out who it was or what it was.
How long ago was that?
That was back in 2011.
Wow.
2011 was the big 2 years for me. In 2012, then it subsided, and then it went into little tokens and things of this nature.
Wow.
And so yeah, it was 2 years. It was very intense, and it kind of led up, and I kind of miss it. I thought maybe, well, I need to get back out to Sedona to revive all this energy. I had energy there. It was kind of like the third eye. I was in a lodge, and I was sitting outside. Here pulls up an old model car, like back in the 50s, like a station wagon. Like, out pops this woman. She goes in the lodge office, and then a man, looks like he was about 38, 39. He come out, and he had a small child, looked like she was only about 5. He had her on a leash, and the leash had jewels all over it. Had jewels on the leash, and he sat there in the bench. He didn't look at me. They don't look at you in a dimensional sense. But
Okay.
I heard barking sounds, and I thought, where's that coming from? They don't have a dog. And I looked around, and this little girl had really bright blue, shiny, sparkly eyes, real thin face, short, cropped blonde hair, and she was looking at me and barking at me just like a dog. Matter of fact, she did better than the dog.
Wow.
What did I see? But something told me, no camera, don't make a scene. It set energy that's around them, that envelops you, that kind of, they try to put you in a low key situation where you're not going to respond. And so I went back in the lodge, and in my room, I sat there only for about a minute. Then I come to my senses. I ran back out the door, and I thought to myself, that's illegal to have a child on a leash around its neck.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, no, I'm going to take care of this. I went back out. They were gone. I went and asked the lodge manager, did you just have a woman, a man, and a small child here? And he goes, no. I said, really? So you see things in Sedona if you got that third eye. And that's why I looked at it. But there was another time before I got that hail damage. I was getting in my car. It was rainy, and it was kind of, when it rains in Sedona, it's not so much fun. So I was getting ready to leave Sedona, and there was an old man, an old cowboy, in a rocking chair, rocking back and forth. And I remember after this happened, there wasn't any rocking chair on that porch deck. And this old guy looked at me, and he said, I wouldn't leave right now if I was you. And he sounded like an old Western guy. And I said, why? He said, bad storms. And I said, well, the news just said those storms are west of, they're west of Flagstaff. He goes, no, I wouldn't leave. So I left anyway. And that's when I ran into, there was a tornadic circular cloud over the car on Highway 40. I was heading back east to New Mexico. And I got these big hail balls come down and hit my car, damaged my car. That's why I had my car taken care of. And so he was right. Something was trying to warn me. I didn't heed the warnings from the other side, the dimensional side, I call it.
Yeah.
So I've had dimensional. I've had ET, I've seen 5 up close, and I've seen a lot of orbs. Orbs don't excite me. I mean, since I've seen them up close, I like to see the mechanical parts of it and everything. So, and I was able to do that. I don't know if too many people have seen 5 up close, and I wonder myself, why me? Why are these little things happening? And my wife is, like I said, she's a strong believer in what happens to me and what's going on. My brother was concerned if I went out west again, I'd disappear. And I said, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just I want to get into the psychology of it. The fear that goes through you, and how they dumb you down, all these other things. And the electrical charge must have stayed in me. About 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I flew to the Philippines with my wife, and we went through the airport in Alaska, when we was in Alaska. And this circular thing, you stand in the middle, hold your arms up, and the circular thing goes around you. and it's supposed to sniff out any residue of bombs or ammunition. And I said, okay. I got out of it. I was in my socks. I got up, and the guy grabbed me by the arm. And my wife says, "Baby, come on, let's go." And this guy said, "He's not going anywhere." And he had me by the arm, and I said, "What's going on?" And he pointed up at the figure. There's a figure on this machine. There's a figure that's drawn on the machine that you go through, and there was yellow spots all on that figure. And I said, "Who's that?" He said, "That's you." He said, I said, "What are they?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "Have you ever seen it before?" He said, "No." He said, "But go over here." Then they really patted me down, took swabs of my hands, and it took a wand to me and everything, and then give me a red card to go and show the person that I was going to get on the plane. I guess the ticket taker, or whatever. And I give that to her, and I guess it was a card saying, "Watch this guy," but I don't know why. But it was those yellow spots on. I said I've had back surgery and I got metal back there, and he said it's not from your back, and he was really mad. I think he was more scared than he was mad. I have never seen a TSA agent like that, and but he was upset about it, and I thought, what's going on? Why is this happening? That happened again in Seattle.
Could you see where the spots were?
Yeah, the spots were here, right here on my chest, up here,
Okay.
and near my heart, and right here in my belly, and on my shoulder.
So about 4 or 5?
About 5 spots, yeah.
And both times, was it the same spots in the same? Was Seattle? You said it happened again.
Yeah, happened again in Seattle. And I told the guy before I walked in that machine, I said, if you see something weird, I said, it's not me. So I walked in there, it happened again, and they held me. This time it was a lady. She was looking at me, and she looked up at this thing, and she said, "We're going to have to check you out further." I said, "Why?" "Because those yellow things." And I said, "I've seen them before." She said, "I've never seen those before," she told me. I said, "Oh, okay." So I thought
Have you
there's
been through one of those detectors where it hasn't gone off?
no, metal detector doesn't go off. Only
No, I mean, but in these machines, have you been through a machine where it didn't go off?
No, not these. Not since my abductions. It's everything's happened since I was electrocuted in those abductions.
But I'm saying, when you go, have you been through a machine like these 2 times it happened? But have you been in those machines where it didn't go off, or where it didn't happen?
No, I didn't fly international flights, so
Okay.
that's where they do the international thing.
I guess make sure next time you get someone to take a photograph of it,
Yeah, if they
of the
allow you.
screen.
Yeah, if they allow you. The TSA is very strict, and
Yeah.
I was scared to make a move after that.
Yeah,
I thought,
I've been there.
yeah, I thought I was going to miss the flight and everything because of these yellow spots in which they don't know what they were, and I
Wow.
still don't know what
I've
they
never
were.
heard that before. Interesting.
Yeah, but it's there's been other things like something grabbed my foot one night, and I guess they were waking me up, maybe thinking that I have health conditions, like maybe the ETs, when they scan you, they can tell if you got a bad heart or whatever,
Yeah.
and they only do so much. They put me completely out, and I've only seen one. Well, I've actually seen 2. I saw a small reptilian standing outside my closet door. I woke up and I looked, and he was about 5 feet tall. He was a small one and looked like a cobra. Well, I don't like cobras, so I was really afraid. I was scared, and I jumped out of that bed, and I thought, "Oh my God!" And then it disappeared. It was only there for about 30 seconds, and then it disappeared, like coming in and out of my universe, whatever you call it. But yeah, I've seen those, and I talked to I was working with a couple of other researchers, and I was talking to them about the things that happened. And a couple of times I got so scared that I called my researcher friend, and I was really afraid. It was after that abduction that really I thought it was killing me, and I called and I tried to settle down, and it just scared me. I mean, that's the time that I was afraid. Those times I wasn't afraid when I saw UFOs. It was only when they started messing with me with electronics and then knocking me out. But I've seen other strange people. They say they walk amongst us.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some people who I think were weird. I was at a Bass Pro one time in St. Louis, and I was looking at some sharks. I was going out west, matter of fact, and I was looking at the sharks of this rack, and here comes in a guy that looked like he was FBI. He had about a $500 suit on. He comes to the rack and he stands there and stares at me. I'd say almost for a minute. And I looked up at him and I put some, sharks in the cart and I kept looking up at him. He didn't say nothing. He just stood there and stared. And I didn't say nothing because I guess I was kind of like dumbed down from the situation. So he walks away. I went around the corner of the aisle to see where he was at. He was gone. He just disappeared. My brother and I was at the St. Louis Museum one time. My older brother and I, we were looking at the Egyptian, I guess they had an Egyptian display there. We was looking at that, and behind us was a guy, about 55. He wore regular like clothes like we would, and he was standing there looking at me. Every time I turned around, he was standing there staring, and then he would turn his head. I told my brother, I said, take a look at this guy behind us. And my brother looked at me and said, yeah, he's looking at us. I said, he wasn't wearing a museum badge or he didn't have no ID on him. And I thought it was weird that he was watching us. And then he walked around a corner of the display. My brother and I took off real fast. Again, we took off real fast to find out where he was at, and he was gone. He was just disappeared. So these people can come and go at will, I would imagine. And but the ones who do walk among us, like I've seen a reptilian girl one night. My brothers and I were having a couple of beers, and we were talking about putting the band back together. This was back in 2012, I believe it was, somewhere around there. And this girl was in a dress, and she was dancing, really good dancer. She had a Michael Jackson song on. She danced up to our table, and she's looking at me and going like this. And my two brothers, in which are younger and better looking than I am, they were sitting there. She come at me, and I felt weird. I really felt weird. Like, who was that? Well, 2 weeks later, my brother and my other brother, we was sitting at the bar just having a beer. I'm not a drunk. I don't even drink hardly anymore. So we just had a beer or two. But I was sitting there, and then she was in plain clothes. I knew it was her. I told my brother, I said, is that the same girl we saw a couple of weeks ago? And he goes, maybe. He didn't pay no attention. You have to pay attention of things. You have to look up. You have to look around to see things. And when I turned and looked at her, she didn't even turn her head. She rolled her eyes to me, and she had a green slit in her eye, like a cat eye. And I looked at that when she did that, and I go, oh, I couldn't. I was kind of like, whoa, this is a little bit too much. I told my brother, I said, let's get out of here. I said, this is a little too much. And why? I said, that gal just rolled her eyes and she had a slit like a cat or a lizard eye, And so the truth is they do walk among us, and they hide in our human flesh or whatever. I don't know if they probably are shapeshifters, as the Indians call them.
Yeah.
I believe there's something else going on.
Have you tried regression at all?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. I went to a hypnotist here, I guess, a little ways away from us, and she was supposed to be really good. And she's been doing it for a long time. I told her what I needed to be hypnotized. I wanted to be able to regress some of these things. Well, I had the Taos hum. Have you ever heard of the Taos hum?
No.
The hum that you hear, like it's a constant low vibration,
Okay.
Low diesel engine. Well, I have that, but I've gotten used to that. I only hear it every once in a while now. But when I was in her office, she had me lay down, and then she said, I want you to relax. And then she counted from 10 backwards, and she said, okay, I want you to relax, and now we'll start with I turned around to her and said, I can't go out. I said, I can't relax. The noise and the vibrations are getting too loud. And she said, what do you mean? I said, the vibrations are getting off. She said, well, let's try it again. I laid there, and I started looking around because I couldn't go out. She couldn't put me under. And I looked around. She was under. She was sitting there with her eyes closed and going back and forth. I had to go over and shake her by her shoulder 3 times to wake her up, and I called her name out. I forget her name, but she was out. And then she gets up, she raises up her head. She's, oh my God, that's the day of a day of reckoning, where they pick you up. The end of time. She said that was a craft that picks up people. I said, really? She said, yeah, that's what I saw. I said, you were hypnotized. So it was actually reversed. She she got hypnotized instead of me. So I thought, I'm gonna give that up. It was kind of, well, I walked out and it was weird, but I was also scared too. I thought, what forces are around me, are with me, are in me that can cause that? And I can do that now. I've had people and friends that I can take a look at, and I can evaluate the situations. And my wife said that I got that third eye, and that third eye can get me in trouble. And it is true. I can sniff out things pretty easily. But uh, I was also doubled. You ever heard of doppelganger and that
Yeah.
type of thing? There's another name. I forget it. I should have looked it back up. I got it in my records. The Germans call it another name, that a person is recreated, and what they're in a kind of a I don't know what you call a computer matrix type thing, and they make the double. Well, I went to Roswell, and then I went to San Antonio. I was going to go to Houston to visit some friends. I went to San Antonio after that, and I scratched my leg up pretty bad, and I was putting medicine on and taking ibuprofen. I fell off to sleep at 10:30, and this gal that I talked to, who was a receptionist, who made out my room ticket and everything, uh, I went in the next morning, and she had doubled back on a shift, and then she was looking at me real weird, and I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm okay." She said, "But you're not." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I saw you at Walmart at 11:30." She said, "In the same clothes you had on last night." I said, "No, no, you didn't. No, you didn't." I said, "That wasn't me." I was getting mad. I was about ready to tell to call the manager, but in a case like that, a woman always wins. So I just decided to moonwalk backwards, and I looked at her. I said, "No, that was not me. I was in bed at 10:30 sleeping." And so I went. When I got home, I took the car to the dealership, and I was sitting there for only about 2 or 3 minutes, and the guy walked by, and he said, "You've been here about 2 hours or an hour and a half." I said, "No, no, sir, it wasn't me." He said, "Yes, it was you." He said, "I'm not going to give details, but he says it was you." And I said, "No, sir, it wasn't." He said, "Don't tell me." He got mad. He actually got mad at me, and I said, "Okay, let's end this. Okay, whatever you saw, it's fine." And it was actually, I guess, some body double of mine.
Is that the same time frame, or is that a different time?
That was in 2011, 2010. In
So
that time.
they both didn't happen at the same time, though.
No, no.
Okay, okay.
They happened about several days apart.
But it was only a couple of days apart.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 days apart when I
Wow.
got them.
Okay.
But what brought that on? I was at the Trinity site in New Mexico, where Smokey the Bear was from there. I heard a loud bang on my window on the passenger side. I looked over, and I thought the window was broke, and it wasn't. And then about 5 minutes later, I heard another loud bang, like going out the window. I thought maybe it might have been some kind of energy, because I felt like tingling all over, and my hair on my arms were raising, and I felt like something was happening. I think it might have been when they did a body double. I mean, I know I'm kind of talking for out there, but this is what I felt.
So
And
you were at the Trinity nuclear site when this happened?
yeah, I was driving by it. I wasn't at it. I was driving by it on the road next to it, the highway. And yeah, I felt it's the gut feelings that I go by. It's
Okay.
not a fear. You don't want to dream or imagine anything.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
understand.
need you need the gut feelings, and I had a gut feeling that something was. It takes. I think it takes two times a backup situation to happen to prove to me that something did happen. The first time I kind of scratch it off. Second time a follow up of the same thing. Then I think, okay, something's going on, and so that's. But I've always wanted to get into the psychology of it, the feelings of it, and I have a person who wants me to be a moderator and actually talk to some of these abductees, and what I would do is I'd go after the feelings. How did they feel? Did anything? I mean, physically, was there any marks or pain? I've had marks on my body. I've had two implants. One was, when I was younger, 14, and then I had another one in 2011, but it was in my leg, and there's a little round red hole. Again, the same type of.
Okay, which leg?
It was in the left leg, left calf,
Okay.
and I kind of scratched on it, dug it out, and here popped out a charcoal-looking thing I guess it was about 3/8 of an inch or so, and it looked like charcoal rock. And I thought, that was in my leg, and I put it in a bag, and I tried to save it. And I've taken pictures of it. I do have pictures of that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And it was an implant. And what happened, as it was deteriorating, it looked like brain neurons. I got it under a microscope and even took it to a meeting in Springfield, and they looked at it and they said, "Oh my God, that looks like a monster in there." It was it was kind of weird looking, but I kept it and I took pictures until it completely dissolved. It just dissolved.
How long did that take?
I'd say two weeks, because I kept it in an airproof bag, and I didn't do much. I left it there. Yeah. So
you've got some fascinating stuff to tell. I mean, you've got a lot of evidence. It appears that you've gathered, you've journaled it pretty well from the sounds of it. That you've kept it all together. And so in the end, what would you say, if you thought about it an awful lot? Why you? Any idea? Like, your wife has got some involvement. Your kids, anything there, or?
No, I just had one adopted child in my time.
Okay.
And no other kids. My wife, like I said, she believes in this because she's seen things, and she had a dream of a flying saucer here a couple of months ago, and it was the same type that I saw, and she saw it in her dream. So I think my mom and my family, they say they check on Indians, Native American Indians, and my background with my family were Crow Indians, and so that was.
What percent Indian are you?
I'm not really sure. I'd guess at about 12%, because
okay.
my mom was 50%. My mom's about 25%. So I'm
okay.
But I want to get a DNA and test, and I want to find out how much Indian. But I heard they track Indians for some reason, and they track families. Well, my mom she's had experiences, and she's just now telling me a lot of things the last 2-3 years. She's 91 now, but she's had experiences that she saw these tall, thin guys. She didn't know if there's aliens or not. She said that they come to her bed and touched around on her field. So she's had experiences also.
All her life, like going way back?
Yeah, I don't know way back, but she told me in the past 20, 30 years she's had.
Okay.
But
fascinating.
Her family, they saw a UFO back in the 50s in behind their house. My aunt and my grandma, well, two of my aunts and my grandma that were there, and they saw this flying saucer, they called it, in behind their house. It was up over their yard. And I told my mom, I said, this must have been going on for some time with our DNA, with our family. My brother has had some experiences. He doesn't relate them to ET. He gets more into the ghost and spiritual dimensional thing. But I pinpoint the ETs on most of what's going on with me. Now, the little disc and the little things that I received, I'm not sure where they're coming from. I showed them to nuns, and they looked at me and they said, "You've been blessed. Those are from God." Of course, they're going to think that way because that's their ideology, but actually, I don't know where they come from.
I'll send you some material on that. 30% of all experiencers have those kind of things happen, like what they're called apport experiences. So it's pretty common, but it's pretty interesting where it's almost like they're giving you validation. It's like, Dave, this is not a dream. This is actually going on. It's sort of like just to give you the idea, like, no, this isn't a dream. You're not imagining this. Especially when you see something like, when you define, like, that's why I asked you where the quarter was. was it heads up? It's always heads up, and it's always in a place where you're absolutely going to see it. It's not on the side. It's like right in the middle of the floor, exactly, and it's to catch your attention, and then you go like, I just cleaned, what's this doing here? So it's very interesting that you've got, maybe I'd like to actually maybe think about it and do a second interview with you, because you can sort of go over your notes, because I mean, you've got more material than vast majority of people. I mean, you've documented it pretty well, and a lot of very interesting stuff. Let me ask you a last question, because I got to sort of run here. Last question: have you, in terms of, you heard the thing with the good, the evil? How have you? What's this? Has it changed your life for the positive, for the negative? How has it affected you? How do you see the phenomena?
I say it's more spiritual, because once these things happen, these events happen, I feel energized. I feel good. They haven't really hurt me except for shocking me, in which I thought I was going to die. That's electrocution.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only time they actually kind of hurt me. Otherwise, I've been kind of just knocked out and slowly taken somewhere, and I've had regressions of bits and pieces of dreams, and I've had other little things that I'd wake up and I'd be sitting at this table, and I would be seeing letters that I can't make out, and they wanted me to interpret those, and there was other people sitting around, didn't know who they were, but they were symbols and stuff that they wanted me to, to interpret into my
Have you
language.
tried to draw those?
No, I haven't. I've seen.
Yeah, there are pretty common stories. If you can try to draw those, because I mean, that's pretty common as well. The symbols, and even sitting at the table. There's a story. I mean, it sounds you're telling the guy's story. Sitting at the table where they're teaching him how to read this stuff, where you can look at 20 symbols, and it's an entire book, and you can just look at the 20 symbols, and you can. So that's kind of important to try to, even if you can sort of meditate and go back to try to revive that event, because that's pretty common, and may mean something. That, because if you come down to it, they're showing these symbols for a reason, or they're showing you these letters for a reason. There's something that they're doing. This isn't they haven't got, it's not like they've got nothing better to do. That's part of the thing, that maybe you can help other people who are having those experiences to try to recall your experience to validate their experience, because that is pretty common experience.
Right. I've had I've had other little experiences and dreams and things, and I'd wake up and I'd feel like, where was I at? What was I doing? Sometimes you're confused about that. But I guess I'm trying to think of the many little things that I've had. I've got.
Did you ever get a question to your answer about God?
No.
Were you ever able to cut and maybe interact with these guys and ask questions, or has it always been like you're so sort of scared that you don't really say anything and they don't say anything?
It's telepathically. I don't talk to a lot of this telepathically, but Kuroko, the one I was with, and she was the Japanese gal, I asked her about God, and I told her, I said, why don't you pray to God, for your problems? She looks at me, and then she says, your God didn't help me.
Give me that again. What did she say?
She said, your God did not help me.
Oh.
So she's saying that my God, or your God, is not her God.
Okay.
That's what she's trying to say.
Wow.
And that's what I got from that. Just little things. I've got about 3 pages of notes. I try to remember everything she said. I went back to the room, wrote it all down, because I knew she was mysterious, and I wrote it all down, and I got 3 pages of notes on it. So, yeah.
Fascinating. Well, let's leave it at that for today, and then I'd like to do another interview with you. I'll set it up, and I'm going to have some more questions for you.